Olympic Games cost billions of dollars to host, with the games in Sochi in Russia costing 50 billion at a maximum, but other games not far behind, for example, Tokyo, Rio de Janeiro, and London all costing above $12 billion each. Doesn't matter if this is the Summer Games or the Winter Games, the cost for building new infrastructure always takes a huge toll on the host nation, and this is all in the hopes of driving tourism to the country, putting it on the world map, and perhaps recouping this cost somehow. Usually these games are associated with a positive image, bringing the world together, top performing athletes across all parts of the world, trying to push the boundaries of human achievement. That is all on the field though. What about off the field? What legacy have the Olympic Games left in their host countries from a social, cultural, and more particularly financial perspective? And it's not that hard to see that off the field, the reputation for the games is not that straightforward. Before we dig deeper though, if you are enjoying this video, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and the like button if you enjoy learning more about money, how to save or grow it, or just understand it better. The history of corruption and financial forgery at the games is pretty old, but one of the first high-profile cases was the 1998 Nagano Olympics held in Japan. Nagano was selected to be the city for the 1991 Winter Olympics over cities like Salt Lake City in America as part of Japan's broader strategy to showcase its economic strength and cultural heritage on a global stage, especially after an acid bubble burst not so long ago. Particularly, they wanted to have a wave of excitement and national pride at a time where the country really had no expectations for success when it comes to their economy, and they went too far. The bid committee for the Nagano Olympics reportedly spent lavishly to win the support of the IOC, or the International Olympic Committee, which included offering luxury gifts, extravagant entertainment, and expensive trips. Specifically, they offered the Olympic Committee extremely rare cultural artifacts from Japan, luxury hotel stays in Japan and in the world, and also high-end electronics, something Japan was known well for, with companies like Sony at the forefront of digital innovation. And to cover their trails, according to BBC and the New York Times, there was a notable track of transparency in the financial records of the Nagano Bid Committee. Crucial documents detailing expenditures and transactions related to the bid were reportedly even destroyed, making it extremely hard for investigators to trace the flow of money and especially the gifts. And because of this destruction of records, we will perhaps never know the scale of the corruption and the bribery and even identities of all those individuals involved from the Japanese side or the IOC side. And this is not only true just for the Winter Olympics, if that's something that you're wondering. The Summer Olympics in Athens in 2004 also faced many of the same issues to a much larger degree. In 1997, Athens was awarded the 2004 Summer Olympics bid, marking the return of the games to their original birthplace. Of course, this was positioned as a celebration of Olympic heritage and also an opportunity to showcase modern Greece and how much progress Greece society had made. The problem was that Athens' infrastructure was not up to the mark when it comes to holding a full-fledged games. Olympic Games required not just stadiums, but also places to host athletes. Olympic Games required not just one stadium, but multi-purpose grounds throughout the city to hold a multitude of sports. You need to host track and field, but you also need to host triathlons, rowing, and many other sports like volleyball that require access to very particular conditions. And this is where the corruption occurred. Many contracts for the construction of the Olympic venues and infrastructure were inflated, with kickbacks being paid to government officials and other influential figures. The initial budget for the Athens Olympics was approximately $4.6 billion, but the final cost ballooned to over $15 billion. For those of us not good at math like myself, that is more than 3 times the original cost. And to hide their tracks, these cost overruns were also attributed to delays in construction, last-minute changes, and inadequate planning. All of those mingled in to ensure that the real money trail was never found. Investigations revealed that some contractors received multiple contracts through dubious means, which included just knowing an important Greek political figure and having no background actually in constructing large-scale sports venues. These kickbacks and inflated contracts meant that the Greek government had to take on debt, with a lot of commentators saying that these games have a legacy of debt and decay. And many commentators like Bloomberg also noting that the ripple-down effect of those Olympics can still be seen in Greek society today, with a weakened Greek currency and an extremely debt-sensitive economy. At this point, you might be thinking, why are we talking about scandals that happened 20 years ago, or even further than that, with Nagano being held in 1998? Well, how about talking about something that happened less than 10 years ago? The 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio. This was presented as Brazil's economic introduction to the world, being part of the BRICS nations and also being grouped with extremely high developing economies. Brazil was at the forefront of breaking into the mainstream economic discourse. Not just this, its tourism industry was seeing a boom compared to the previous decade, and the government saw this as a perfect opportunity to push Brazil's tourism to the forefront of worldwide tourism. And this Olympics was corrupt from the start. Voter buying allegations emerged, which were then confirmed by the former governor of Rio de Janeiro, Sergio Cabral, who admitted that he paid $2 million in bribes to secure votes, revealing a much broader scheme involving various high-ranking officials, not just himself. Then after actually getting the rights, multiple construction companies involved in building Olympic venues and infrastructure, such as Odebrecht and Andrade Gutierrez, were found to have paid substantial bribes to win these contracts. And we are talking about figures in the millions of dollars here. Once again, the full extent is not known because of a lack of paper trail. And this is not just a misappropriation of funds, but many of the venues and facilities built for the Olympics were left abandoned or fell into disrepair shortly after the games, highlighting the mismanagement and waste of resources that these companies conducted. Furthermore, they got more funding for urban development and building lasting infrastructure, which largely did not happen, with corruption and poor planning cited as major reasons for the lack of sustainable infrastructure. Odebrecht had a $3.5 billion settlement, which shows you the extent of the scandal itself. Several high-ranking officials, for example Carlos Newsman, the head of the Rio 2016 organizing committee, were arrested for their involvement in the vote-buying scandal. And if this is not recent enough for you, let's talk about the last Olympics held, Tokyo 2021. These games had a lot of problems and were in fact not even going to be held at one point, after which the IOC and the Tokyo game organizers decided to hold the Olympics in 2021. And the complexity of the corruption here was one that perhaps we have not seen before. Reports surfaced that the Tokyo bid committee made suspicious payments totaling $2 million to a Singaporean-based consulting firm, Black Tidings. Now, paying $2 million for consulting when it comes to building infrastructure, organizing for the Olympics is not illegal, but this consulting firm was specifically linked to Lamine Dia, a former IOC member already involved in a broader corruption scandal. The payments were allegedly believed to have been made to influence votes in favor of Tokyo during the bidding process, even though they were hidden behind this mask of being a consulting firm payment. After getting the Olympic contract, several executives of major Japanese companies, including Dentsu Inc., a major Japanese advertising agency, were implicated in bribery and kickback schemes to secure contracts for the Olympics. These companies paid bribes to members of the organizing committee and other influential figures to secure lucrative contracts specifically for the games. Japan prosecutors actually raided Dentsu over alleged Tokyo Olympics bribery, and in this raid is when they found out that this scandal is not just linked to Dentsu but also other companies. The corruption also doesn't stop here, with a lot of high-profile contracts given to family members of the committee members. These contracts included logistics contracts, marketing contracts, and even construction contracts from the start of the Olympics. Powerful Japanese companies, also known as Kiritsu, which means a set of companies with interlocking business relationships, were found to have dominated the bidding processes for these Olympic Games. These companies had links to all of the prominent politicians and several important Japanese social figures that made it much easier for them to use those relationships and have a lot of influence on the Tokyo Olympic Games. Even for the Paris Games already, we have some evidence of maybe slight corruption and foul play. The French financial police raided the headquarters of the Paris 2024 Organizing Committee and Solidio, the public body overseeing Olympic infrastructure. The investigation focused on several contracts that may have been improperly awarded, potentially involving misappropriation of public funds. Key officials, including Brigitte Henrique, president of the French National Olympic Committee, have already resigned because of internal conflicts and organizational turmoil. These issues already have led to concerns about transparency and anti-corruption, and in these games where most athletes do not get paid a lot for performing at the highest level, to know that there's billions of dollars of corruption most likely being conducted every single time these games are held raises a big question mark over the entire integrity of the games. On one hand, you have reports saying that the Olympic Committee does not have money to install air conditioning for all countries at the games where temperatures are going to be above 30 degrees, and on the other hand, you have officials and prominent government figures getting away with billions of dollars of corruption, money that could have gone to actually paying these athletes to put on better performances and compensate them for the truly remarkable performances that they put at the games themselves. This is not to say that the games should not be held or should be cancelled, but rather for us to take a step back and see how we can make this a better deal for the athletes performing and for every host country's long-term infrastructure. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to smash the subscribe button, the like button, and the comment button if you enjoyed this video. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.